Okay, so this is gonna be about something I've been wanting to talk about for a while. I'm gonna call it trauma talk or trauma typing, and I'm gonna hopefully have time to talk about this bullcrap little video that somebody made about Allie Carter. Before I say anything else, I want to say this. Allie Carter has been making videos for years on end. She is not just somebody that popped up out the woodworks because of all the hype. What actually happened is that a little while ago, she had got on live and she let everybody know she was about to take the risk of making her account public. So she made it public for a day to talk about the situation. And then that's when a whole bunch of people had started seeing her videos and talking junk and sharing them. But she isn't new. She's been making videos for years on end. Years. Eventually I'll go more into that. But I mostly am going to be talking about what I call trauma type or trauma talking. And then I'm going to talk about this video where this dude was saying some bull crap about how he was saying he wasn't going to call her a liar, but he was literally calling her a liar. And he was also saying that her story doesn't really make sense because it's out of order and it doesn't have a beginning, middle, and end, and she doesn't start at the beginning. And it's like, how do you how do you expect somebody to start at the beginning of something? I don't know what to say about that. It's just really stupid for a lot of reasons. Even if somebody didn't have complex trauma, you can't really expect somebody to start at the beginning of their life, then go on into the middle. She says what needs to be said when it does, based on what's relevant, and that's pretty much all I can say about that. And then some people are saying, well, that's how people with complex trauma talk. And I guess maybe that's why I don't see anything wrong with it. I decided to edit in the other parts before my little tangent because I was talking about my quote-unquote trauma typing way longer than I originally planned to be. And I'm really hoping I'll even have storage space for this. So this is a message from someone I knew who was in their own little situation. And I felt like this could also be good for a video about quote-unquote trauma typing. And also how you have to type when you may not know how to use punctuation, but you're also typing things up really quickly because you're really not even allowed to talk to people or be on a device anyway. And if you're seeing this, to the person who said this, I do hope you're okay. And I know that there's been a lot of storms in where you live. And I also know that you technically were never supposed to have a device anyway. Can't really remember how you said that you were getting online, but I really hope you're okay. Maybe if possible, leave a comment and say that you're okay or something, then delete it. I should still see it because I see the bullcrap comments that some people leave that I guess YouTube deletes, or maybe they delete it after the fact. I don't really know, but I get the notifications, but then it's not under the video. So anywho, my sister and I just got in a mini physical fight. I guess you can call it. So I went out in the living room to throw my empty plastic water bottle away. And she told me to put the trash outside, but turned around and started walking. I think I thought I was going in my room, skipping stuff. Cause next time, so came running trying to swing at me, and I yelled at her. And by the way, this person has showed me this corporate level email that they had sent to their school to make a complaint about something that happened when it was raining really hard and they wouldn't let them go to their parents to go home. Which reminds me of another video I need to make because the schools they do have like authority over your kids. As long as your kid is in their custody, they can do whatever. So if something happens, you can't go get your kid, but that's another video. So this person is actually really good at typing, definitely better than me. But I think that it's like when somebody's talking about a traumatic situation, whether in the moment or not, and of course when they have to rush to do it, it's just a certain way that it comes out, whether they're like talking out loud or they're typing it. I think anytime you see a situation where siblings are whooping each other and quote unquote disciplining each other, there's a whole bunch of dysfunction going on. Like that could be a whole video of its own, to be honest. Like I remember I met this girl one time back in GA, and she was telling me about how her brother would whoop her and stuff, and how he quote unquote wouldn't hit her hard and a whole bunch of bullcrap like that. She was a scapegoat in denial, but yeah, anytime you see siblings quote unquote disciplining each other, there's an issue. Same thing with if you see sibling sexual abuse. And mind you, that girl was 15 and her brother was like 16, 17. And I yelled at her, "I'm going to the effing bathroom to pee." And then she went back to kitchen and I went to pee. After that, I came to the kitchen. Some trash that fell on the floor, and I tied the trash and put it outside while I was doing that. She was acting like an abusive sister. So I went to open the door to put the trash outside because their trash valet, I guess you call it at the apartment. I don't really know what some of this means, but and their neighbors outside sweeping the stairs. So I just put the trash by the door so I didn't have to go outside, if that makes any sense. Because I felt awkward stepping out the door while she was sleeping and my abusive sister was right by me. And she told me to step outside so I could put the trash a little further down from the door in a loud tone. And I said no and slammed the door shut and told her no, and she decided to come at me, and I punched her so hard multiple times and kicked her in the stomach multiple times, and she tried to throw a shoe at me. And I slammed my door. She opened it because my door doesn't have a lock on it, and started to throw shoes at me and said, "Don't ever touch me like that, B." And I'm just in my room right now, feeling just empowered, but the phone I'm using right now is broke, so I can somewhat even really see the screen. But what I did, I felt like finally had strength to beat her up. And that's what commonly happens when you're in situations like this. You may eventually defend yourself, and you may even win or almost win, and then you like kind of, it's just kind of eye-opening. Or maybe you may fight other people who like try to jump on you or whatever in your neighborhood or something like that. And commonly people fall into like coping mechanisms of fighting people, whether it's people their age, older or younger. But they'll fight all the time because, for one, those are people that they can fight, unlike their abusers who can get them thrown in jail or something for defending themselves. I am 5'2" and 106 pounds, and my abusive sister is 5'6" and 135 pounds. Somewhere around that. I had strength against this abusive narcissist a-hole. And mind you, I think that's what that says because I can't see the screen. Period, right? So the fact that I did was amazing. I can't see that. Even though what got into me, I was just her at her neck, face, and kicking her hard in the stomach. I'm gonna link the video in the description. As an ex-military and someone with some medical knowledge, as if the medical system knows jack about trauma, or at least wants to admit anything true about really any type of illness, but I can tell you that people who went through trauma and still are going through it won't always talk chronologically, as with the script. The reason why she has her mother next to her most of the time is not for mere company. That support is very crucial. Allie is not making any money out of this, even though some YouTube channels are making cash out of her experience. Some people here may say that Allie's story isn't credible, but HSI/DHS think different. Well, I mean, honestly, like I said, I don't make these videos. I make it never, well, not the current channel, not the evidence situation. I don't make these videos to prove anything to anybody. I really hope that the people who need to see them will see them so they can actually understand what's actually going on with the system they're in or have been in. This whole idea of proving stuff to people, you don't really need to prove anything to people that's right in front of them. People, for one, people pretend not to believe because they don't care. Others pretend not to believe because they work in these systems and they're making money off of it, or they're just getting a kick out of it. 3, some people live in cognitive dissonance to go to sleep at night, even though it's really ignorant to me, because the thing is, the things only happen in the world because we let it happen. And that's what I've been saying for years. So anybody that's saying that they don't believe you and they don't think that this person did that, they're lying to you and they're lying to themselves. And also, DHS they're the ones doing this to people, but that was kind of weird for them to mention that, but whatever. Their opinion matters more. They only dig into a case where there is credible evidence. Well, the evidence and the affidavits are against them. That's why I find it weird that they mention DHS. I don't even know what HSI is, but they're the ones who are doing this. But yeah. Human trafficking and smuggling. Maybe I should start saying human trafficking because the other code terms I've been using aren't working anymore. My comments still get deleted. And smuggling, child exploitation, cybercrime, financial crimes, drug trafficking, weapons smuggling, and others. What? DHS and weapon smuggling? Also, human smuggling and human trafficking, quote unquote, are not the same thing. Like, human smuggling is commonly when people are trying to sneak into some place, like the Trojan horse thing that schools beat down your throat. Or at least they used to. They still talk about similar bullcrap. That's what that is. It's people like trying to sneak across the borders to get into countries. It's not the same thing as quote unquote human trafficking, because I guess I'm gonna have to start saying that now. You just want it to be true. There are people who still uses their common sense and know that she is lying. I saw her videos and her interviews. She basically exposed herself. People like her makes it hard for real victims. I hate when people say this real victim stuff. 9 out of 10, anybody saying real victim hasn't had a run-in with any of the situations that are being mentioned. And definitely none of the systems that are being mentioned. And it's like, I mean, what do they even mean by real victim? Are they like comparing high-level SRA to like somebody just getting essayed? Which of course, like I said, all abuse is a demonic ritual. And all sex could be a demonic ritual or it could not be a demonic ritual, but it's all a ritual either way. So it could be Thelema or it could not be, if I can even say that much. So like, I mean, it's always going to have damaging effects, but like still high level SRA isn't even comparable to that. So I don't really know if they're trying to say real victims of like SA, as if that alone is the same situation, because what people don't get, this is something that I've thought for years when it comes to the whole high level SRA thing. What people don't get is that the sex isn't even the hard part. It's all the weirder, horrific stuff that goes along with it. The trauma-based mind control type stuff. So, also the Virgo Vasal. Don't know if I can say that either. What was I gonna say? I don't know what point I was getting at. But yeah, I don't really know what else to say about that. Like, anybody saying real victims in situations like this know nothing about what they're talking about. And I think they were responding to a comment about the Tupac daughter thing. Something that people don't seem to know is that dude has kids everywhere. That dude has kids in North Carolina. But I'm not even going to go into that. Like, realistically, people really knew how much these people have kids and then unalive them or just leave them somewhere. In fact, you know what? This movie just came to mind. The movie The Amazing Gilly Hopkins. It's about this girl whose mom was like a model or something, but she grew up in foster care. Anybody that can say what that last person said and lie and say that somebody admitted they're lying or that they expose themselves, quote unquote, people who say that about anyone in situations like this or I guess any bad situation, they have the Leviathan spirit heavy and they are dangerous people. They will play flying monkey and enabler for somebody that doesn't give a crap about them. Which, I mean, that's kind of society anyway these days when it comes to all this idol worship and people uplifting these people that they don't know, that don't like them. I guess that's all I really can say about that without trauma dumping. But watch out for people like that that'll really sit there and say, well, they admitted they're lying. People like that are really sick. And I can't even go into detail on that. So this first comment made absolutely no sense. So I'm not even going to talk about that. But this second comment. So I'm assuming that this person is Hebrew, maybe some other ethnic group. And depending on whether they are or not, there's more I could say, which I probably will still say anyway. But for one, this is probably somebody who's deep into the bullcrap music industry mess, deep into the brainwashing, deep into the social conditioning, all up in the effeminate thug persona and walking around with their butt out. But you know that any society where you look around and all you see is butt, that's a fallen society. Doesn't matter what gender they are. So, oh yeah, and then anyone who's into that, they're also promoting trauma and Virgo Vasal because that's where that comes from. They say it started in prison. Sagging actually comes from a trauma-based mind control that happened before the whole prison thing. I mean, literally, you're uplifting a dude that used to walk around with a corset and nothing else. A corset and underwear showing. But that's not even really the point. The overall point is that you're for one uplifting somebody that's played a role in the destruction of Hebrew communities and really everywhere. Because I mean, the music industry, school system, created for the same reason by the same people. All of that was indoctrination pushed on you by people who really don't like anybody, the real white supremacists at the top, who pushed on to you what they wanted you to be. And then they have the nerve to say this new generation crap. You believed anything. You believed that all your people were quote unquote thuggy priests who liked the show butt pretty much. So you believed anything and you fell into that social conditioning. And it's really crazy that people have the nerve to say this generation stuff. Like, the previous generation literally creates the next. And there's a lot of pro-abuse rhetoric where people are saying that the reason that the generations are getting worse is because whoopings aren't happening, as if people have ever stopped beating on and choking kids and locking them in closets. But like, it's just pro abuse. Further, it's no accountability pretty much. There's no accountability nowhere, just like Pastor Stephen Darby said. Although, even though him and his wife talked about the trauma in the community, they still did promote some of that same crap. But he had a lot of good quotes. In fact, one quote I was going to get from him is, I couldn't remember the quote, but I remember now. So what Pastor Stephen Darby said in one video is that people accept insanity in small amounts. And what Tiffany Buckner said in one of her live streams is that every generation accepts something new that's demonic. And both of those things are true, and they're both pretty much saying the same thing. So in reality, this comment is some bullcrap. And it's honestly really sad because it's hard to find real elders anymore. It's like, regardless of how old people get, they're still like stuck on stupid and in this little I mean, obviously everybody doesn't fall into the whole thuggy priesthood, effeminate thug persona social conditioning, but it's like there's so many other versions of that really that people get stuck in and never grow out of. So it's like the elders are either like this and they're still deep in the brainwashing, or they're chomos, or both. To explain what I call trauma type, or trauma typing, or trauma talking, I'm gonna go over some clips that I didn't even know I still had. In fact, I definitely didn't know. Well, I mean, I don't still have these screenshots, but I didn't know that I had a video with these screenshots in them. Now, of course, I try to not talk about my previous situation anymore, or really at all, but I really rather focus on the Cash for Kids system side, since that's what I'm trying to spread awareness to. The summary, somehow. These screenshots right here was from when I was talking to this Cash for Kids system staff lady. And I guess to like summarize her, she was a flying monkey that was was originally put in, wait, I don't really know how to give a summary without like going into detail, but she was a flying monkey, to make a long story short. She was one of the Cash for Kids system staff that I originally had to talk to, and she acted like she was gonna help and all that, but then once she saw the 2000 videos and actually knew my full situation, after saying that she would help, she was like, what did she say? Oh yeah, she was like, well, I don't know what to say, but that's a lot going on that shouldn't be in front of a child. Honestly, that was a weird response. But I do remember the exact video she was responding to was this one situation where my dad started manifesting and saying he had been alive for 1,000 years, and one of his multiple girlfriends was there, and she was confronting him about different things he was saying, to summarize that situation. Pretty sure that was March 2020 or March 2021, maybe February. This right here, though, happened way after that. And so, pretty much, this flying monkey lady had played into me getting put in this Cash for Kids system placement. And the issue was that, of course, as quote-unquote mandated reporters do, she pretended that she was going to help, but she was too scared to help. So she helped my abusers get me put in this placement, which is a really long story. I didn't really find out what it actually was till like near the end, because the staff lies so much. And apparently it wasn't necessarily what my mom wanted to get me put in either. because of course I was going through the Cash for Kids system, Munchausen and stuff. She was saying I was retarded, and to summarize that, like, she was told that this was going to be like some placement for quote unquote retarded kids, but there wasn't actually one. So what happened was the group of people she was meeting with were just like, I'm sick of this lady. And I remember one of the people that was involved in this situation, because of course I'm beating around the bush more than I was back when I was doing the evidence videos, because I really don't even want to really talk on the situation and who did what anymore. But one of the people that was involved in this situation was like, okay, I'm sick of your mom and your whole family's crazy. And pretty much she's telling us that you're retarded and we don't have any placement that we could put you in. And mind you, this wasn't like I guess it was like a TTI, but it wasn't like some juvenile justice or mental health thing. So it wasn't like some place I stay at or live at. It was just this placement called the self-confined, as bad as that sounds, where I'm there for like a couple hours and then I go home. So anyway, this dude was like, we don't have anywhere that we could place you that you would actually look like you belong in, with the fact that she's saying you're quote unquote retarded. So we're just going to let her place you wherever she wants anyway. And then I got put in the self-confined placement, which was, it's a system that was created during the Jim Crow era, so it also has some racial stuff in it. And then my mom played victim around that too, because she was like, this is not what I was talking about. But like they said, they didn't really have anything that was similar to what she was describing she wanted me placed in, that I would actually look like I belong in. And that was the closest thing they had. And so this lady in these screenshots that I was talking to played a role in getting me put in that, because like I said, she was pretending she was going to help, but then she didn't. And she also said that she was letting me get put in the self-confined because she at least felt like I'd be safer and I would have somebody to talk to about my situation, because she worked there every now and then. And of course she eventually quit, because the 3 self-confined staff are very manipulative and abusive, and they would even talk junk to her, especially when she would confront them about different things they would say to us. So she quit and didn't even let anybody know that she quit. Which she didn't necessarily work for that placement, she worked for the school system. In fact, she really worked for BetterHelp. And that was that. And I remember in this situation, I think in these screenshots, I haven't read them all over yet, but this was when I was saying stuff to her about the situation with defect snitching, about the 2000 videos, and I think also how she pretty much lied to me, and she was manipulative too. And so I remember this one time when I confronted her about how she had lied to me, and then all of a sudden I was in this placement, and she was like, what did she say? Oh yeah, she said something like, I would love to be the old lady that lives in the house that's made out of a shoe, that takes in all the kids and helps them, but I can't always be that. Pretty much she would just deflect and go on to this manipulative little bullcrap rant, and she would never take accountability for anything. And I think she not only quit because of the abuse she witnessed and had to go through herself with the 3 self-confined staff, which were very toxic, but also because of her guilt, because she knew what she had did. And pretty much in these screenshots, when she read my messages, she was just like, I have a job too, pretty much. Okay, this is way longer than I wanted it to be, so I'm gonna play this. This is an old video, and I'm reading the screenshots. The pod staff. I keep burping, but ignore it. The recorder had turned off, but anyway, she told the pod staff they went through my phone and found a voicemail from CPS, and she told. And as a side note, this all goes back to that thing that I've been letting people know, and that I really hope people in these situations will get. there is no quote-unquote help. There is no system to help. And you really, if you're already in a branch of the Cash for Kids system, the last thing you want if you're not already in there is to go into the foster care branch. And then, I mean, it's really just no point if you're already in another branch of the Cash for Kids system already. You want to save yourself. And of course, like, I do hope that people start coming together to help people. And actually, I'm going to talk about that probably in a video I'll make after this if I have any storage space. I want to talk about that whole there's nothing anybody can really do thing. I've seen other kids, like other teenagers my age, drive miles away to go rescue other kids from these placements. If a kid can do it, multiple adults can too, but that's for another video. Sorry I couldn't answer. I can only be in the bathroom but for so long because they pat me down for phones, and if I am in here too long, they try to break in. Now my mom is fake crying on the phone with someone about how me and the social worker lied on her and how she did. And like I said, this was during the whole situation where CPS has snitched about the 2000 abuse evidence videos. And my mom started cutting people off, and this I guess therapist counselor type thing that I had, because she felt like they were the ones reporting. And that lady has even still played games with me up until recently, because I like tried to get some medical records from them, to make a long story short, and she felt like I was trying to sue them. And I guess the fact that I even made it out of the situation alive was scary to her, because she feels like I'm going to sue them, which I honestly don't even think is possible, but that's how these systems work. And keep in mind, none of these Cash for Kids system staff are your friends. None of them really care about you that much, if at all. They just see themselves as doing a job. How she doesn't know what the accusations were that were said. I think I'm dissociating again. My mom is on the phone. Oh yeah, so I'm supposed to be explaining this. Notice that I use no punctuation. That's something that'll be used against you a lot when you're in situations like this. And to be truthfully honest, I didn't even know how to use punctuation. I only really recently learned, to be honest, like really. But I didn't even know how to use punctuation. And when you're in situations like this, you may not even really be allowed to talk to people like that. So whether you're on the phone, talking in person, or texting somebody, you may just be trying to like type everything up so fast, and then you look back and there's typos everywhere. With the pod staff, that's especially self-confined staff. And also, I've had somebody who was in their own situation. I actually made a video about this specific person, and the truth about missing kids video, or whatever it was called. This girl who had escaped her dad, who was essaying her, and she tried to move in with her mom, and the police were, of course, looking for her, and she was being smear campaigned to a certain extent with the missing persons reports, trying to move in with her mom. Long story, but I remember one time she told me that I text as if I'm not talking to another person, but as if I'm like thinking to myself or something like that. I don't really get what that means, but I wonder if I was still in my situation then or not, though, because I feel like I like text more sometimes when I was talking to people, which most just wanted me to be their unpaid therapist, but didn't give a crap about anything I had to say. But yeah, so you'll notice I say some things and I mentioned that I'm dissociating again. And to be truthfully honest, I don't really know what people mean when they say how normal people talk. I'm not even gonna lie, I have no clue what that means. By the way. And fake crying, and she said I keep calling CPS on them, and my mom just told them the only thing I can do is do my part. The pod staff are gaslighting themselves, so I'm sure they'll jump on her bandwagon. She told the pod staff the recorder had turned off, but anyway, she told the pod staff they went through my phone and found a voicemail from CPS, and she told the lady she doesn't know if my viewers from YouTube or the people from Reddit, because I was in support groups, that somebody from the Part 1 channel had advised me to get on. Reddit pager giving me advice and calling CPS for me. She told them the guy from the autism clinic had been set up for me to have a new evaluation this month, and she told me everything that happens in this evaluation is going to be on me. Okay. And then eventually I was told that everything was my fault because my mom was mad about the Munchausen reports, and she was like, well, okay, wait a minute. One thing I have to say though, keep in mind that the Cash for Kids system is Munchausen itself. They create the issue. Their real end goal, if it's not to have you not alive anymore or completely insane, is to have you a Manchurian candidate, or at least, okay, wait a minute, let me start over. Their goal is to have you a Manchurian candidate, or at least another messed up person running around terrorizing people. So they create the issue, but anyway, when she was mad about the Munchausen reports, I just got told, well, really everything is your fault. And that's what she told other people. Really everything is her fault because really she has factitious disorder and she faked being retarded. So there was that. But I guess another thing that could be considered trauma talk that people say isn't normal is like when I say, to make a long story short, but then I keep going for another 50 minutes. Okay, so there was a little part in this video where I had explained the whole situation in detail, but like I said, I don't really like to talk about the situation anymore. I deleted the videos on the Inmate Truth channel, and that was only about pill side effects and different people's stories about mental hospital experiences, which is really about the Cash for Kids system and different people's experiences. So because like I mentioned before, when I first made this channel, I was focused on the mental health system branch of the Cash for Kids system, but I wasn't even I hadn't even pieced everything together yet as the Cash for Kids system. They're breaking code silence and all that, but anyway, she's playing victim with the people from the school, and they were talking about how it's supposedly illegal for me to record abuse evidence. I shouldn't have even had to do that anyway. And by the school, it's not actual school. I'm talking about the self-confined placement, which the staff were always saying that it wasn't really for academics. It was really a confusing situation. They lied so much, and I eventually found out that pretty much it was just like the usual Cash for Kids system placement where you can only get in when you either don't have parents or you have abusive parents that put you in there. Pretty much. Well, not pretty much. That's really how it works. Especially when it comes to these school placements, most of the people in there are in the foster care system and they don't have parents to say, well, there's no reason for my kid to be in this placement. This was in GA though, and they didn't have alternative schools or anything, so they had this thing called GNet. And originally when I was trying to figure out what was actually going on and trying to figure out what I was in, I didn't know what was going on. I was like, is this something to set me up to go to jail? Is this something that's going to ship me off to some hospital? Luckily, they didn't do any of that stuff. In fact, the staff actually said that this placement it's not for academics. It's not for if you're slow, whatever that means. And it's not for mental health either. They were like, we don't even deal with mental health. If you were mentally ill or if we thought you were mentally ill, you would not be in here, you'd be in GNet. Because originally I thought that I was in GNet because somebody I know was trying to help me figure out what I was in, and they found something about Georgia's GNet. And so for a while I thought I was in GNet until the staff started threatening this other kid and threatening to send them to GNet. And I was like, I thought this was GNet. And they were like, GNet is way worse than this. every time authorities would get involved, they would bring up the diagnosis and the authorities wouldn't even talk to me. Which, of course, I eventually really accepted the fact that nobody actually cared about or believed any of that stuff. All this stuff is just pretty much how the systems in general work. Somebody has to have a reason to pretend not to believe you because they really don't care. And the thing is, all these people that I'm mentioning and that I'm talking to in this clip, they all work in the Cash for Kids system. Their job isn't to tear down the next person about not doing something that really none of them are there to do. And that's why I'm glad that, like, this is gonna sound weird, but that's one of the reasons that I'm glad that my dad had multiple girlfriends that really actually would come to me and be like, what's going on is really obvious. And they had never even met my mom. She's the one who created most of this situation and actually started pushing me through the Cash for Kids, but they never even met her, but they could still piece together my situation. And that's why I'm also glad that I eventually was told about support groups, which honestly, Reddit is bullcrap. It's complete bullcrap, and it's really ran by chomos and people with racial weird stuff going on. Long story, but the support groups are definitely were decent then, especially when you really needed them, because I was really piecing together my situation then, and it was like nice to see people in so many similar situations pretty much. And then I said, whoops, never mind, my mom said it was you. But oh yeah, so if I'm remembering right, this whole situation, dang, I guess I didn't pay attention to my explanation that I did in this video, but pretty much my mom was mad because this lady had reported me to the police because I was like in a really high stress situation due to the fact that CPS had snitched about the 2,000 videos and all my relatives were out to get me pretty much. And so at this point in time, I don't even really know if I could say I was feeling depressed. I mean, the mold toxicity didn't make it any better, and my health at the time didn't make it any better, but it was just like really high stress when people are constantly coming at you because they're mad about 2,000 videos. And so, this lady had reported me because I don't even know, I guess it's not even really that I was depressed or really that suicidal, if I can even say that on here. I just was like really ready to get out the situation at that point. But yeah, she reported that, and that I was she reported that I was depressed pretty much, quote unquote depressed, because that's what I was believing at the time. Not that I was really being told that, because when the depressed label did get put on me when I was like 12 or whatever in the early Munchausen, my mom got that taken off anyway, because she didn't like the idea of that. But that's all. Dang, did I say her name? I think I did say her name on accident. I feel like I said the lady's name. I'm gonna have to edit that out. But anyway, this lady reported that, of course, she didn't talk about the whole video thing and how she played a huge part in it, because why would she? And the police wouldn't care anyway. And like they say, it's not their job to do anything about situations like this. Because basically this lady was playing both sides. I understand that you feel the way you do. I have to do my job too and consider all parties involved. You have an open case with defects /CPS. You haven't. You have. In fact, you know what? Now remembering stuff from the whole whoops, never mind, my mom said it was you thing. My mom kept saying that this lady was my friend, even though the only reason this lady was actually ever assigned to talk to me before I got put in this placement was because my mom had told them I was retarded. And so this lady was supposed to be helping me work through my retardation. And I was like, how is this lady my friend when you're the one that got her signed up to talk to me? And now you're mad because you feel like she's quote unquote helping me when she could care less about me or any of the other people in the placement.
Have people that are listening. Now the outcome is in their hands. Suicide is not the answer. I will keep in
And that's the blame shifting, which people love to do in today's society. One thing that I notice about this is I like how the more I learn things over time and piece things together, I can go over videos or I don't know, essays that people type up from their situation or even from my previous situation, and I can really explain things. And that's something I've always been pretty good at. But it's I noticed that as time goes on, I could say something new and explain or piece together something new about different situations.
touch with you all next week. Be safe. Be safe because the world is not pretty. Be mindful what you do on the internet and people you do not know.
And so, yeah, there's that. So you'll see that there was obviously the usual gaslighty, brainwashy bullcrap that Cash for Kids system staff do. You'll notice that I don't use punctuation. Honestly, I feel like that wasn't really, my typing wasn't that bad other than the no punctuation thing. I feel like I could have found something that was a better example, but that's what I found right now. Something I forgot to mention that I'm editing in is that everything I just said also goes along with the whole evidence thing and people saying, oh, there's no evidence to this, oh, there's no evidence to that. The thing is, that doesn't matter because there is no help. And also, everybody around is watching the situation go down anyway. That's why I say all of this stuff is just blame shifting, cognitive dissonance, and people not wanting to admit stuff because they feel guilty themselves because they've sat around and watched and recorded and laughed at somebody in a situation like this. Plus, there's plenty of videos because people have actually made videos of her essay when she was younger public to try to blackmail her and stuff like that, or to try to get views. And that's really common even in lower level abuse situations. Because like I mentioned before in another video, the kid victims get charged with quote unquote CP when things like this happen. Or bare minimum, the police and all the other people around will blame the victim for it, and the parents will feel embarrassed because quote unquote their kid's a hoe. Nobody cares about the abuse that's going on. And yeah, but I mentioned this in my how the kid victims get charged with CP video. So yeah, there's that, and there's the sworn affidavits. So there is evidence anyway, since people are doing that whole you need evidence bull crap. In fact, the more you get caught up in the belief you need to prove something, the more you fall apart and the more you run around gathering witness reports and stuff to find out none of that